part of your uniform is wearing boots. However, if you have a note from your physician, you can wear sneakers. And I'm a sneaker fanatic, so y'all already know what I did. I went right to the orthopedic. If I can match up a pair of J's that can be shined with my uniform, you better believe I'm going to add that razzle to the dazzle. And I'm also one of those type of people that my uniform has to be pressed to the gods. So at most of the counties and institutions that I've worked at, if they don't know me for nothing else, they know me as the officer that's coming in there with those fly-ass sneakers every time, a 10 out of 10. So during this time, I was working at a women's institution, and one of the inmates that was there, she was a little bit older, but she definitely took pride in her appearance. Her hair was always done, uniform always pressed. And just like in the free world, you have people that's behind the walls that are jealous of you, to include officers that are jealous of inmates. I mean, officers that actually get to go home every day jealous. We were on the yard one day, and I'm the first responder, and the second responder that was out there made the comment when that inmate walked by and said, "I can't stand her ass. She walk around here like a shit don't stink." I asked the officer, "What did the inmate do to you that you don't like her?" And she was like, "Well, you know she likes to play with dead bodies, and she likes to walk around here with her hair flying in the wind like a shit don't stink." So a few days later, we're out on the yard, and that same officer is my second responder, and the inmate walks over to us, and she says, "Good afternoon, Officer Hernandez. Good afternoon, Officer Williams." So I say, "Good afternoon, Miss Smith." Smith as an example. And the officer looks at me, and she says, "Why are you calling her Miss Smith? That's inmate Smith." And I'm like, "No, that's Miss Smith, like I said." This type of officer, I'm going to treat you like Miss or Mr. such and such until you start acting like inmate such and such. This is what's worked for me over the years, and this is what I'm going to continue to do. Now, we're creatures of habit, and how I was raised was that if you were older than me, I was going to address you by Miss or Mr. followed by your name. And I was also raised to say yes or no. Simply yes or no. Not yes, sir, yes, ma'am, no, sir, none of that, just yes or no. My mother didn't allow us to add the ma'am onto it. It was too close to a slave and a slave master. So after the inmate asked us what she needed to ask us and left, the second responder says to me, "Well, if you're going to call her miss, you might as well start saying yes, ma'am." So I explained to her that I don't say yes, ma'am. And I told her, "Look, you police your way, I'll police my way. As long as it's within policy and procedure, I don't have a problem with how you do your job, and you shouldn't have a problem with how I do my job." About 2 weeks later, we get a code blue and we go into the unit, and it's that same inmate. She suffers from epilepsy, so she was having a seizure. And of course, I had this second responder with me. Prison floors are made of pure concrete. Okay, they're really hard. So this lady had already been flopping around like a fish before we got in there. So it was blood in her nose and she was foaming at her mouth. The inmate situation was severe enough to go to outside hospital. So while we're at outside hospital, the inmate situation is starting to improve. And then the second responder notices that some of the inmate's bodily fluid was all over my sneakers. And she said, "Look, you spent $250 to wear your sneakers inside of a prison. And now that BITCH blood and vomit is all over your shoes." Talking about kicking a man when they already down. I told her, "Look, I don't give a F about these sneakers because at the end of the day, this is somebody's life that we're talking about. I can always replace these sneakers." Fast forward, the inmate is back at the institution. I'm on the yard one day. She comes up to me and she's thanking me for assisting her when she had her medical emergency. And I'm just like, "That's my job." She was like, "Yeah, but you went above and beyond. Like, you did more than what your job required." She was like, "And I really appreciate you saying what you said when I was in the hospital about your sneakers." I didn't realize that during that conversation, the inmate was coherent enough to understand and hear what was going on around her. So she was just like, "You a real one for that. I'm going to find a way to repay you." This inmate worked in the salon where they do the officer's hair. So I was thinking, well, maybe when I go to hair care next week, she's going to add a little extra oil sheen to my silk press. Far away from what I was thinking. This inmate said, "I can get you a house. If you want it, it's yours." And I was just like, shit, is this a lesson or a blessing? Cousins, come a little closer so I can give y'all this tea. This inmate was incarcerated for desecration of human remains. I never questioned what second responder was talking about when she said, "You know she likes to play with dead bodies. So she really plays with dead bodies." Let me get back to this part of the tea with how she was going to get me a house. So her husband was the driver that picked up the mobile and modular homes. Not only did he pick up the modular homes that was at the factories, but he also picked up the modular homes that was in foreclosure, which leads into how she became incarcerated and charged with desecration of human remains. So she offers to have her husband to go pick up a mobile or modular home for me, have it put on my land, and have one of their friends to come out there and brick the home in. Child, with the way the economy is right now, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, "Pretty, why you didn't just go ahead and take her up on her offer?" But nah, my integrity wouldn't allow me to do that. Sometimes it sucks having a conscience. You understand me? It really sucks. So getting to how she got charged with that crime. This is what her and her husband was doing. This was their hustle. They was having mobile homes and modular homes moved and selling them off to people. For example, if he picked a home up in Alabama, someone in North Carolina purchased it, they would take that home from Alabama to North Carolina, get their homeboy to come out there, brick that bad boy in, and it was theirs. She eventually got arrested, was able to make bail, bonded out, and now she was just waiting to go to trial. Now, during this time, someone in her hometown transitioned. The woman that transitioned was very similar to her in height, weight, etc., etc. So her and her husband came up with this bright idea for her to fake her death. They went to this lady's funeral, they went to her burial, and then decided that they was going to come back at a later date, dig her body up, put her in the car, make it seem like it was an accident, and made sure that the car went up in flames. Now she's able to live her life with her husband and her children like nothing ever happened until she eventually got caught for this crime as well. Y'all, guess how she got caught? Her damn kids. These damn kids will run their mouths at that school. Do you hear me? It be your own damn kids. One of her kids was going to school talking about her as if she was still alive. And the teacher, to their knowledge, knew that the mother was deceased due to a car accident. So the teacher thinks that the baby needs therapy because they keep talking about their mom like they're still alive. So she sends the baby to the school counselor and the child gets to run in his mouth some more. That led to a full investigation, which resulted in her being rearrested again. They also got money off of a life insurance policy for her death, so she was also charged with that. Desecration of human remains, faking her own death, and fraud. So now not only is she going to be serving state time, but she was also going to be serving federal time.